Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello and welcome to episode 184 of Total Retail Talks. In today's episode, Executive Editor Joe Keenan sits down with Dave Steck, VP of IT, Infrastructure, and Application Development at Schnucks Markets. Listen in as they discuss the grocer's partnership with Simbe Robotics and its use of shelf-scanning robot Tally. All recorded live at Grocery Shop 2018 in Las Vegas. And now on to the show.
Hi, I'm Joe Keenan of Total Retail. I'm here at Grocery Shop in Las Vegas. I am joined by Dave Steck, who is the Vice President of IT, Infrastructure, and Application Development at Schnucks Markets. Dave is going to be speaking here at the show tomorrow, actually. And we have a couple questions about that, and as well as Schnucks' involvement and work with Simbe Robotics and its Tally robot technology. So thanks for joining me, Dave.
Thank you.
So let's start by having you briefly tell our audience a little bit about Schnucks and your role at the company.
So Schnucks is a privately held 118-store chain centered out of St. Louis, Missouri. We're in 5 states. We're in Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And we just, in the last 2 weeks, finished an integration of adding 20 more stores, or 19, if depends on who you ask,
okay.
into the chain when one of our largest competitors is leaving the market. So we just finished that integration. My role, you pretty much nailed it, is VP of IT, Infrastructure, and Application Development. I've been with the company for about 4.5 years.
So as I mentioned, you're working with Simbe Robotics. I want to talk about that partnership a little bit and its autonomous self-scanning robot Tally. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the role you see and how you foresee that technology helping to improve in-store operations at your stores.
So we kind of have to back up a little bit. When we first brought Tally in, it was just to gain an understanding of what the capabilities were. And we did a pilot with them last year for about 6 weeks in 3 stores. And that was mostly just PowerPoint review. There wasn't a whole lot of automation associated with it. Once
kind of just a data collection.
Just a data collection and see what the results were at the end of the pilot. And then once we understood the data that was coming back, we were able to decide to go forward with a full production. So we started full production earlier this year with a robot. It's in 4 stores now. What we've done to improve the capabilities in the stores is to use Tally to go through the aisles. We'll scan 35,000 SKUs a day, or 3 times a day.
Yep.
And we have on automation a RESTful API that when the robot completes a scene, which could be a 4-foot segment or a 12-foot or an entire aisle in the case of cereal, when it completes that scene, it begins to upload the data. And then Simbe does their processing of the data, and we get a feedback from them within 15 minutes of that scene being completed. And that goes to our handhelds if there's an out of stock.
Okay.
We're using some smart intelligence behind that as well, in conjunction with our replenishment system, that if the robot or Tally notices that it's an out of stock, we're going to check first before we send it to the teammate and say, is this already on order from the warehouse?
Okay.
Is PI already below the reorder point? So in those 2 cases, we don't send a notification. If it is above the reorder point, we do send a notification to the teammate on their handheld, tell them to go check to see if there's backstock and bring the backstock out.
So obviously it involves, it's a good point that you bring up, kind of the role of the store associate and kind of the people in the equation here. So they're kind of getting alerts from the Simbe, from Tally, and then kind of taking action upon that as well?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, with that improvement that you're seeing in terms of operations, obviously then it should have kind of an impact on customer experience in store. Can you talk about kind of the ways that you believe that working with Tally can help improve customer experience?
That's a big part of the reason why we did this, is out of stocks are a huge frustration for the customers. You can see it in kind of a parallel environment that we're doing with production planning using a different product is in the case of breads. When a customer comes in, we were producing breads based off of what the baker felt like making that morning.
Yeah.
And when we introduced production planning, and we started to do different breads, more of the specialty breads, more of the higher end breads, we noticed that the customers were getting their first choice.
Yeah.
So you can translate that and say, okay, Simbe, when you do this scan and we can see an out of stock, from a customer viewpoint, if that item's out of stock, they're either not going to buy it or they're going to get something which is their second choice. And that's a huge factor of customer experience.
And then I would imagine, the data that you're capturing via Tally, it's to your point in customer experience, but also it's enabling you to make better merchandising decisions, where to place product, I would imagine, and then inventory optimization, making sure that you have correct product in stock, right amount to match demand. Can you talk a little bit about those two, merchandising and kind of inventory optimization around the data?
So merchandising, we don't really use Simbe to help us with the merchandising side of that. That's what the merchants are for, and I'm an IT guy. But from inventory optimization, absolutely, that's the whole focus behind doing this is to get those out of stocks and get the product to the shelf a lot faster. So, and the fact that with Simbe that we can get this information back to the store associates within 15 minutes, and they can act on it immediately and say, hey, your PI is off, and they'll go in and update PI to be zero. If that point when perpetual inventory is at zero, we will hit the reorder, and that reorder is done for them automatically. So typically by the next day when the truck arrives, that product will be on the truck.
Mm-hmm. So it was announced this week, actually, that you're going to be rolling out Tally to, I think the pilot was with 4 stores. It's going to be rolling out to some more Schnuck locations. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of what you saw in the pilot, the business benefits that you've realized that, okay, this is something we want to continue to invest in and expand to more locations.
So the pilot was actually 3 stores, and that was last July, and we've been in production with 4 stores since the early part of this year. And we have announced, or we will announce tomorrow, as a matter of fact, that we're going to expand to 15 stores. I have 4 stores already slated with a robot being delivered, I believe, sometime this week to move forward on those 4. So when you look at just the capability of Tally and say it's for out of stocks, that's a piece of the equation. But the bigger piece of the equation is what Tally can collect on the data side that gives you a lot more insights on your shelf tag itself. We can use the robot and to do an analysis of the shelf tag, and we've got some secret sauce behind the scenes that allows us to know if that shelf tag is out of date. And if that shelf tag's out of date, then we can again queue another task for a teammate to print a new shelf tag and hang the new shelf tag. So there's a huge value to the data that's behind this, and it's not just the out of stock. There's product location data. There's a ton of stuff that Tally's able to do and that we can build on and then improve our customer experience with that data.
So you mentioned 3 times a day it's running through the audit process. Is that before and after the store, before the store opens in the morning and at the end of the day, or is this right in the middle? You have shoppers around and Tally's kind of roaming the aisles?
So when we originally did the program and did the pilot, we didn't want to be real secretive about it, and we wanted to see how Tally would perform in our busiest stores. So the pilot was in our 2 busiest stores. And then when we did the production implementation, one of the busiest stores was in a remodel, so we didn't want to put the robot back in there. But we do have Tally in one of our busiest stores in the St. Louis area, and it is scanning during the day. We scan generally 6 o'clock in the morning until 10:30 or 11. We go back out again at 1, and then we do have a hard stop at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Because it does get pretty crowded in that store at 4. And it's not just because it's interfering with the customers, it's the effectiveness of the scan. If it has to avoid a customer, you're going to lose that. And then we go back out again at 7 o'clock at night. and complete the entire center store.
Any interesting reactions from customers that see this little robot scanning the floors, or it's just now they're getting second nature to them?
Yeah, they're getting used to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of children that that love to come up, and you'll see if you went on our Facebook page, you would see some pictures of kids hugging the robot,
yeah,
which generally we don't want them to hug Tally, but it's okay. Customers have accepted it for the most part. You'll always have the negative Nellies that think you're out there replacing jobs, but that's truly not the case. I think if you look at the grocery industry or retail as a whole and the labor shortage there, it's not about replacing people. It's being able to do a job that can't be done today because you don't have the staff to do it, and that just improves your overall customer relationship.
So my final question, Dave, would be, you talked about your role at Schnucks. From an IT perspective, what did you need to do to get these stores ready to roll out Tally within them? Kind of the infrastructure is within the stores. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So when I first joined Schnucks, which was about 4.5 years ago, we took a look at the overall environment. One of the first things, my boss and I both joined about the same time, we realized real quickly that the network infrastructure wasn't there. So you went from a 3 meg copper-based network infrastructure that was constantly bouncing up and down whenever it rained, and we replaced it with a 100 meg fiber network, so private network. So we have 100 meg up, 100 meg down, and that was kind of the backbone for everything. And then there's the replenishment system. We implemented JDA replenishment to get away from the manual ordering process that we had before. So there was a bunch of foundational things. You can't just step in and say, well, I've got all this old antiquated stuff, I'm going to throw a robot in here and my problems are solved. That's not the way to do it. You have to get the foundation solid before you can bring Tally in, and then your experience will be better.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank Dave Steck of Schnucks Markets for joining me today at Grocery Shop, telling us a little bit about the company's work with Simbe Robotics and its Tally robot. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher, but make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.